Okay, this is Sachin here. Today is the 5th of June 2023. I'm joined by Mr. Pratap Bhatt. He and I are continuing our contemplation on J. Krishnamurti's notebook. We looked at the very first line last week, and today we're going to go to the next paragraph. This is for June 19th. So I'm going to read the paragraph and then we'll get into the exploration of what this is all about and see what our awareness and what the reflection is regarding these ideas. So Krishnamurti writes here, all night it was there, whenever I woke up. The head was bad going on the plane. The purification of the brain is necessary. The brain is the center of all the senses. The more the senses are alert and sensitive, the sharper the brain is. It's the center of remembrance, the past. It's the storehouse of experience and knowledge and tradition. So it's limited and conditioned. Its activities are planned, thought out, reasoned, but it functions in limitation in space and time. So it cannot formulate or understand that which is the total, the whole, the complete. The complete, the whole, is the mind. The complete, the whole is the mind. It is empty, totally empty. And because of this emptiness, the brain exists in space-time. Only when the brain has cleansed itself of its conditioning, greed, envy, ambition, then only it can comprehend that which is complete. Love is this completeness. All right, so this is the very, very profound and very deep paragraph here. Pratap, do you want to begin or do you want me to begin with this?
You can begin.
All right, so let's take the very first line. All night it was there. All night it was there whenever I woke up. So I think he's again referring to that great realization, that great effulgence or that benediction, what we would probably call the Brahmans, the vastness. So all night it was there, I woke up, the head was bad going on the plane. So Krishnamurti was having these experiences, what he called the process, these pains in the head at times and some pain in the neck, things like that are described again and again. But there was nothing really physically wrong with him. Maybe it's some type of energy awakening. That's what is hypothesized in this. Then he says, the purification of the brain is necessary. The brain is the center of all senses, of all the senses. So this is very interesting. So a couple of points I'd like to make at the beginning, that J. Krishnamurti suggests that the brain needs purification, which is a process of cleansing. It's a process of cleansing it from its past conditioning and limited beliefs. So this is like the one very significant point, that the brain is a physical organ after all. So it is described as the center of senses. Its efficacy and sharpness are linked to alertness and sensitivity of the senses. So the senses that we have, their alertness, sensitivity, all those things are certainly present. Then he says that the brain holds the past as it serves as a center of remembrance. So I think that's a good place to begin our exploration, that the past is held neurochemically inside the brain, inside the physical organ, but it could also be held in the mind somehow. And I think that there's so much profound truth in this because the brain is very much caught up in the past all the time. It doesn't discover its freedom that easily. I guess maybe start with this, and I don't know what you want to say about this.
The way I understand is that the the first line, he says that it was all night there was some bad head uncomfortable thing, but it is the same thing that he mentioned that were present, the beauty and the tenderness and all those things he mentioned up under night before that.
Yes.
So, but the major thing that I understand is that he is using brain in the way that most of us use mind. And he is using the mind that most of us use as this consciousness awareness?
See, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think at times he does that for sure, but in this particular paragraph, let's look at that again carefully. Hold on one second. I got to find that thing again. Where did that go? Just a second, huh? Let me find that. Okay, so he says here, I guess this is it. No, that's not it. Huh. Why is it not showing up? Hold on a second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to see why my screen isn't showing that thing actually. Let me see here, just a second here. Okay, there it is, Kindle. All right, so he says here that the purification of the brain is necessary. The brain is the center of all the senses. So that's the physical organ he's talking about, because our senses are connected to the brain. So the more the senses are alert and sensitive, the more the senses are alert and sensitive, the sharper the brain is. Now, maybe he means the mind there, possibly. But it could also mean, because he's talked about things like awakening the non-mechanical parts of the brain and stuff like that. So he said that. But then he also says here, it is the center of remembrance, the past. It is the storehouse of experience, knowledge, and tradition. So it's limited and conditioned, right? So the brain, the physical brain, has memories within it. It has synapses and neurochemicals and transmitters and all those things. And if there's damage to the brain, there's damage to our life experience, obviously. So it seems to me that he's talking about the physical organ itself, that it is limited, because he talks about the mind later on. He says here, let's see, that he says that the whole is the mind. It is.
See, that's what he says.
Right. So that is the mind. So he differentiates mind from brain here.
Right, but I think that the way I understand is that this brain is a physical organ, so
Yes.
it is like a hardware.
Yes.
It's hardware, and the mind is the software. Through that,
Yes.
the mind works through the brain in that sense.
Right, exactly.
But
that's right, yes.
he also uses the word awareness. Then why would he use the awareness? That is, what is that? So the question to me is exactly, what we call mind is calling right now in this paragraph as a brain, and what we call awareness he's calling as a mind, because he says mind is empty.
Yeah, that's
totally empty.
true.
If something is empty, is emptiness. Because of the emptiness, the brain exists in the space and time.
Yes, so he says
So it looks exactly like that. And I also
yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that is a way to look at this, certainly. Yes, he says that the brain is the center of all experience, and then he uses the word mind. He says that the whole is the mind. But the thing is about this, Pratap, this expression, the whole is the mind, because at that stage of realization that he's writing with, the infinite is just flowing. The absolute is just flowing in the mind. So there is no divisive mind there. So there's no mind like how we have a mind. It's not that kind of mind at all.
Yeah, ultimately, even Buddhists call the mind as the universal mind.
Right.
One universal mind which exhibit that, which manifests in each body and the mind individual. But the total mind is all the knowledge, but it's still in our Vedanta particularly that there is a difference between the mind and the brain. Vedanta never talks brain more. No,
because the rishis were not brain scientists. They were all internal scientists, kind of. Yeah. Exactly. So when he says that the whole is the mind, right? So let's look at that, because there's a lot of ways to see this actually. He says here that the whole is the mind. It is empty, totally empty. And because of this emptiness, the brain exists in space-time. It's kind of a tricky thing to see what he's saying. Because of this emptiness, the brain exists in space-time. So, yeah, so within space and time, the physical organ exists within space and time. We could even say that the mind exists within space and time.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when he says because of this emptiness, that the brain, that would mean that the physical brain itself is existing inside that emptiness, inside that vast empty space.
But then he calls it a mind.
Yeah, but that's right. But he says that okay, that he does call it a mind, but he says here that the whole is the mind. It is empty. So that wholeness, that absolute that Vedanta talks about is actually it is the mind at that point. It's not like separate from the mind at all. So in the state of realization, there is no division between mind and the absolute. Even Vedanta will say that
there is no division between anything on this whole existence is only awareness itself.
Yes, exactly.
That's absolute. But what I am trying to say here, based on our Vedantic understanding, it just says that they use the mind and also awareness or consciousness or Atman or Brahman.
Yes.
All of them, mind and that. Whereas it seems like he is using the brain as what we call mind, and then the mind, what we call awareness.
It seems like that, but
so it's confusing here the way he is using it.
It might be.
Confusing in the sense to us because we are the students.
Yeah, and also the notebook is written in a little different way also than a lot of his other works. So because it's kind of because it seems to me he's speaking direct. Yeah. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, because see, once we understand that the brain and the mind are related in the sense that the broadcasting wave and the TVs are.
Yes.
The TV is really the hardware, and it just limits the broadcasting wave to a particular station and all those things.
Yep.
So in that analogy, I think that also works just like what he says, but his vocabulary is the brain and the mind, and ours so far we be using mind and the Brahman, or mind and the Atman, mind and the consciousness, and that is very clear in our study that it comes like that, because they say all the knowledge reside in the mind, and here he says all the knowledge resides in the brain. And we say mind is all space and time. Mind is nothing but an experience of ceaseless thoughts. That's what we call mind, but we never experience mind in itself. There is no such thing, mind in itself, because the experience of thoughts, and these thoughts are arising from the memories. And then because of these thoughts and memories, there are three other factors, which is called this intellect and the ego. All those things are the mind-based understanding that they have. Antahakaran, they call it in Sanskrit.
Right, of course, yes. So what is your perspective on this thing about the alertness of the senses? This is the freedom of the known also. What do you say about that?
What he says that this mind, or in our case, this awareness is realized by this mind, and the mind becomes so silent when it knows, because of the beauty and all those things can be present when there is a total, mind is a total silent, and mind is a total silent when the I that was manipulating that mind is staying put. when you have observation. So
Right.
that's the reason why all the things can happen when this I, the Pratap, or separate sense of mind-based sense of I thought is quiet, is observing, a mind is in observation, the mind itself gets silent because of the absence of this I. And then that particular mind then is nothing but the awareness, you can say. Love, beauty, joy, all those things are nothing but the experience of our true nature or our reality or what we call awareness, Brahman, whatever name. But that's exactly what he's describing also in this thing, in the earlier passage, earlier few lines that we did last time.
Yes.
And he's saying this, that was still there because he remained in the state of the observer.
Yes.
And this observer, he may be writing here that the mind is empty and whole, but we can use that word, but we can understand that how we relate in the way that we have understood with this. It's a, finally, bottom line is the same, that this experience of this gentleness and the beauty and the power and everything is nothing but more like samadhi.
Yes, yes, definitely, yes. Yeah, because this is all spoken directly. I mean, and then yeah, because he's talking about this emptiness, right? So the complete, the whole is the mind. It is empty, totally empty, because of this emptiness, the brain exists in space-time. And then the last line, only when the brain has cleansed itself of its conditioning, greed, envy, and ambition, then only it can comprehend that which is complete. So yeah, so we can understand the word brain for mind, basically. That's what that means here. So for it to comprehend that which is complete, the conditioning, the greed, envy, ambition, these things have to completely dissolve.
Yeah, they are seen to be the same as the awareness itself.
Yes. Yes.
Mind and body both even.
Yes.
Because the body is in the mind anyway. Body is in the mind as thoughts, memories, right? Because body cannot say anything about body.
Okay, so let's go into this point about the cleansing, that the brain or the mind individual has cleansed itself of its conditioning, right? So because Krishnamurti doesn't rely on anything external, scriptures, gurus, or any sadhana, or that thing is there.
It's your experience, right?
It's just you. It's just who you are. That's it. There's no question of anybody else helping you along the way or attaching to God or to gurus, or none of those things are present in any of his writings, right? So
yes.
so what we say, so what he's saying here is that he says only, he also uses the word only when the brain has cleansed itself of its conditioning, greed, envy, ambition, the 4 points he mentions, right? Conditioning, greed, envy, and ambition, the cleansing of these 4 by yourself, using your own awareness, using your own life, using your own capacity to cleanse. Let's go into this word cleansing. When you hear the word cleansing, what does that say to you?
The way that you're frozen.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
The way I understand that when it says it's cleans up the conditioning. Okay, go ahead.
No. No, you go ahead, because I think we were freezing a little bit. What I was asking you is, what is your you're freezing again. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I don't know why that's happening. Hello?
Problem.
Yeah, it's freezing. Your image was freezing also. I'm just asking you, what is your perspective on the cleansing? What is cleansing?
Cleansing, yeah, that's what I was going to explain. That the cleansing and the free of the conditioning, all those things means to me that in spite of this conditioning and all those things, there is a freedom to go beyond those. And that means it doesn't have to be, you don't have to really get rid of the thoughts of this and that. But the understanding dawns on it with this experience. When the mind is silent, it's already cleaned itself, right? When the mind remains silent, then what can the conditioning do? Nothing. It's only this which is based on the mind, as I thought. Ramana Maharshi says that I thought. He refers to that as an I thought. He is the one that manipulates the mind, and all the conditioning starts to act. Whereas in this case, the absence of this I, the mind is as if it is cleaned. At least there is a freedom to go beyond this conditioning.
Yes, definitely. Well, exactly, because in the previous line, there is this statement that the brain, is the storehouse of experience, knowledge, and tradition. So the storehouse, we can say the chit, like in Vedanta, we say chitta vritti, right? So the chitta of the antakarana, or the brain and the mind, is a storehouse of memory, knowledge, and tradition.
Right. It's put together over the time. So it's
exactly.
a time.
Exactly. It's huge. I mean, that's a tremendous thing. And we have our own personal autobiographical memory of our own identity formation. That is the storehouse. So there is a storehouse there. And most people live only through that storehouse. That's all, right? So the idea here, or what he is writing, is that there is a possibility to evolve or to see beyond that storehouse.
Beyond. Right.
This is the key point, right? Isn't it so?
This is the key point, that one can rise above this storehouse of memory and everything that we call either brain or mind.
Right.
One has freedom to rise above it.
Because you see the three words: experience, knowledge, and tradition. I mean, that's all of human experience completely. I mean, everything is in that.
And then the thing is that this mind becomes the individual. Individual is nothing but the mind. Whatever you say, it will be always from the mind, or you say, I don't know, after searching the mind. So mind becomes the individual. The storehouse, memory and everything becomes the person. And the person thinks that he has this storehouse.
Yes, there's a...
That's the thing that is not very well or explicit understanding that generally should come out of this, our Vedanta or our tradition and all those things. Whereas with the Krishnamurti, it has helped me a lot to see that.
Well, yes. I mean, yes, absolutely right. That the experience, knowledge, tradition, these three, and knowledge meaning the knowledge that is coming, from the culture and environment. That's the knowledge he's referring to. That this is what forms the me. The me is formed from that, actually.
Me is formed by that identification, or that's the same as the me.
Yes, absolutely.
Tradition and all those things we call conditioning, right? We call conditioning, really.
Exactly. So the
conditioning becomes Pratap.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So that happens, and then interestingly, he says that that these activities are planned, thought out, reasoned, and they function in limitation in space and time. So the planning, thought out, reason. So there's a functional aspect to all of this, which is obviously needed. There's no question. But interestingly enough, he also says, so he draws this distinction between the functional aspect, and then he jumps.
Right. Yes.
And then in the next line, he jumps to really stating that this me, this limited conditioning, the me as it is, so that it cannot
individual, right?
It cannot formulate or understand that which is the total, the whole, the complete. It's so the experience, knowledge, tradition is within the individual. That's the identification.
Yeah.
It functions within space time in its limited activity through that framework. But beyond that, it has no possibility of comprehending the total, the whole, the complete, by staying in that realm.
Right. As an individual, the individual has no way to rise above this conditioning.
Exactly.
To the freedom.
Exactly. Now, interestingly, in the next line after that,
unless what he keeps on saying to us.
Well, yes, because
See, that's why he keeps on saying that you are the world and the world is you.
Right.
He try to make us free from this individual brain or mind, whatever he uses the terminology.
Yes.
That these limitations, we have to find our freedom from these limitations that we have more. Because these limitations in the mind is nothing that requires to get rid of it.
No.
It just has to be understood that it is used so that the body and the mind can function with this functional part of the knowledge to live with the other people.
Yes, that's true. Now let's, if you continue further in this, again, the word cleansing, that the mind, the brain has cleansed itself of its conditioning. It's very interesting. Conditioning, greed, envy, ambition, that this cleansing, he uses this word, but he says it has to cleanse itself, but there's no sadhana. There's no sadhana, there's no teacher, there's no guru, there's no relying on anybody, anything else. You have to see it directly yourself, directly. I mean, to see what is the me, the ego, the ahankara, the greed, envy, and all, the whole thing you have to see directly. And
directly, right.
Directly. I mean, there's no other, I mean, it is a pathless path without a path.
Pathless path.
It's pathless path, so
that's what yes, exactly what you said.
But so interestingly, when Krishnamurti is writing these words, he's writing it, it is not that he is writing it. It is that great truth that is manifesting through the body, mind, senses as the notebook.
Was exactly, that is the notebook.
That's, I mean, we can see that.
Krishnamurti's mind and the body and the brain, whatever, that is being used as a public announcement system. You know?
Yes.
In other words.
Exactly. So he says only when the brain has cleansed itself, we can say the mind has cleansed itself of its conditioning. So this is interesting. So the conditioning is there, the envy, greed, all that stuff is inside the conditioning. Now the cleansing of the conditioning, this is very, very, very intriguing. That the cleansing is where the individual can see the fragmentation, limitation, bondages, pain, suffering, greed, envy, torture, all the problems that exist within the structure of the mind. There's a direct perception of them, like a direct perception. There's no, because there's no sadhana, the only thing you're left with is pure observation.
Right, yes.
Right? So, okay, now let's go further. In that pure observation, that pure observation can only occur when there is attention completely on the entirety of the mind.
Right.
Not just one segment, one fragment, one controller and controlled, and one part versus another. Not that kind of thing. And because there is no sadhana to reach anywhere, that is the back door via negative approach, which is a state which is just pure total observation of the entirety of the mind. And the entirety of the mind when an individual observes that, that observation is the emptiness.
Right. But the important point is that the observation is not by this eye, the
Right.
individual.
Exactly.
Because there is
Exactly.
always a misunderstanding that when we say, hey, witness it, watch it, your mind.
Right.
And, I try to watch it, a mind, but that's not real observation, because
No.
this is still in the hands of this individual.
Definitely. And I think
Individual does not allow any freedom to the mind, because it says that I have a mind. So when Krishnamurti said observer is the observed, there was a big light in my head that what he's saying is this sense of, based on the mind, identification with the mind,
yeah.
by the true observer now arises as a thought. And this thought is the observed, is not the observer. We take ourselves as observer, don't we? When I say something, I see tree, I see this, I see that, I observe. When I say I observe, it's not really I as an individual that is observing, that is observe itself, because it takes the observed thing from the mind and only expresses it as a thought.
Yes.
So that's the big problem is there. Observer is really observed, but it takes himself or herself as an observer, and then it fights with the observed.
Yes, exactly.
So that creates a duality, which he does not say explicitly. Krishnamurti doesn't say that, but he says observer is the observed, and then Vedanta comes in and then helps me to see that what he means is that this is an artificial duality between the observed and the observer, and that observer thinks is real, and he wants to control the mind, and the struggle goes on until what you said, that the real observation, when this I is not there, and then the mind is silent. And that happens a lot of time, even during the daytime or in the deep sleep and all those things. That mind, the I is not there, so that we can totally, mind becomes silent, and in the silent we see even the beauty of sunrise, sunset, everything.
Absolutely.
So these are the clue.
So we could also say this other way.
Observing in total attention, observe, and this observation will bring or cleanse whatever need to be cleansed, or it will give you the freedom to rise above the content of the mind. Yes. And draw that universal intelligence by opening up to the vast intelligence now, and not keep limiting. Exactly.
That's
how I understand.
Yes, that's the awakening of the intelligence. I mean, that's what it is. An intelligent mind acts in the field of thought. It's an awakened intelligence, definitely.
Yeah, that's the awakening of intelligence. Very good.
It's an awakening of intelligence. And actually, we could look at it also this way, that the cleansing that he's referring to, where greed, ambition, conditioning, all these things that are present, if we look at something like greed, which we would say in Sanskrit, we'll say lobh. In Gujarati, lobh, manas lobhi che, like that, lobh, right? So lobh,
greed, jealousy, anger,
all those things. Those feelings or emotions or experiences are very much within space and time. They're very much within the conditioned mind. They are where the observer is not the observed. That's where they exist. They at that level. But in reality, the observer is the observed. But the person is in ignorance, saying that I am greedy, but I want this. So that's
what I keep on saying, that the person, individual, usurps the reality, being awareness, to himself or herself.
Exactly.
And when that is understood, then you have a freedom from that tie.
Definitely.
Now,
Definitely. Definitely. And see, when he says, because see, this language of Krishnamurti is like Brahma Sutra. I mean, to me, this is the same thing. The 555 verses of Brahma Sutra, Ved Vyasji, Athato Brahma Jignasa, and all those things, they're so profound. And Brig Acharyas have written commentary. Every line of Krishnamurti is like that Brahma Sutra. It is extremely powerful. I mean, the depth of it is unfathomable. It is absolutely tremendous. If we keep probing into this, we can see that. See what he says. It is only, like, every word has to be looked at.
See, and in our
Oops, sorry. What was that again? What were you saying?
right.
Okay, so if you really pay
I was saying that, see, in the case of our tradition and the sadhana path of sadhana and tradition,
yes,
they will try to tell us to control the mind,
yes,
to get rid of the greed, get rid of all these kasayas, they call it.
yes,
So,
glaciers and all
with
that.
what? With the same eye, right?
Right, sure.
It is not very clear there. In the direct path, it just says that find out who is this that is going to control. Then Krishnamurti's answer was the controller is the controlled.
Yes, yes.
Right? So all those things tells us that the direct path that we also have in our tradition, but very rarely it is emphasized by the contemporary teachers.
By anybody, really. I mean, it's very hard to find anybody who, I mean, there are some Advaita.
So then that very hard to find. Exactly.
So this is very interesting. That only see, listen, pay close attention to the language here. Only when the brain has cleansed itself of its conditioning, greed, envy, and ambition, then only, again, the 2 times the word only is used, then only it can comprehend that which is complete. So that that is referring to, that is in the mind that exists, but there is a comprehension or a movement into the whole, so that occurs out of this cleansing. And interestingly, that the cleansing is a deep transformation. It's a deep purification. It's an awakening. It's a tremendous opening from inside out.
Yeah, and if you remember, Krishnamurti also uses this word that you have to see the false as the false.
Yes.
So when you see the falseness of this observer or individual, then that very seeing gives us the truth. And the truth leads us to this true observer, which is the consciousness, the whole. So that's how he connects it also.
Exactly.
That's why he says we don't need the sadhana, we don't need the guru, we don't need anything. All those things he says, because he emphasizes the seeing the truth or seeing false as the false.
Yes.
Which are the same thing. And that will set you free.
Definitely.
Now, when you understand that Pratap is not really the reality of him or her, then that seeing that thing will always make me clear before I even open my mouth.
Yes, definitely.
To react or anything.
Yes, exactly. See, all of this really implies that such individual who is in, who has done this, or who has himself or herself has gone into the state of cleansing. This cleansing is going on, but interestingly, it's without sadhana. That's the very interesting part. No sadhana. There's no sadhana of any kind. Which would mean that there is that an individual is in a natural state of stillness that is just naturally there out of observation, that you just see things as they are. And this is I know that in many dialogues Krishnamurti had with a bunch of people, he talks about this back door, the via negativa, that you cannot approach that immensity, that vastness, you cannot approach that by any means. You have to leave the door open and it will come to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this, this is a very fascinating thing, actually.
You have to only realize that vastness is what you are.
Yes, of course.
See, that's a very important thing, because whether I know or not, this vastness is our true nature, or it's us.
Yes.
Brahman. Atman is Brahman, right? Jivo
Yes.
evam Brahman napara. So
Right,
that
right.
is already there. So that's the reason why you have to just see the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Yes, exactly. See, I think one of the reasons why Krishnamurti has written this notebook, or it was written down, because he said it to a reporter. He said it at some point. He said that people who have followed all of his teachings or his talks or whatever, for years and years, this is the culmination of it all. This is the height of
culmination. Exactly.
I mean, it is the absolute and there's no, the word I is not there anywhere in this notebook. I mean, it's just not, he's written it, it's written in such a way that that truth is just constantly expressing itself in every sentence and every idea.
Yeah.
So when we say that, he uses the word only twice. Only when the brain has cleansed itself of its conditioning, greed, envy, ambition, then only it comprehends that which is complete. So he uses the word only twice, to give that emphasis that without that total vision, that total realization of the conditioning within, there is not going to be any freedom. There's going to be the same repetition and just a distortion. I mean, this is the word he uses in Freedom from the Known, that this is all, the mind will get distorted by sadhana. See, interestingly, Krishnamurti's point of view, whether it is upasana or God's upasana or belief in God or gurus or scriptures or any sadhana that anybody does, from his point of view, he considers all of it as a psychological distortion.
Or I can say that why these sadhanas are not very productive to take person to the enlightenment is because the sadhana is done by this individual.
Yes. Yeah.
Individual is not the real I at all.
Exactly.
So that sadhana is done by somebody who doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
Or he exists in the ignorance.
Exactly. And see, that's a great point you're making, because people doing sadhana, as long as there's a me, that I am doing sadhana, then that connects beautifully with Krishnamurti, in the sense that is going to distort the mind. Absolutely. I mean, in Freedom from the Known, it is very clear, and in many other places, he says that spiritual practices, quote all of these practices, these are distortions. And the reason behind that is because of the me that is trying to get somewhere. It is trying to solidify itself in a very different way. Yes. Right? Okay. If you really say
very important. Very important.
Right? Okay.
And that's why you don't have to get rid of any of even the psychological content. You don't have to get rid of it.
Right. You cannot get rid of it.
Because it's only for some convention that I can say I am Hindu. I come from the Hindu views. So I can say here.
Yes.
But it's knowing full well that I'm not really Hindu.
Of course not.
The views are that is labeled as Hindus.
Yes.
And I am from the part of this universe or land that they call India.
Yes.
Otherwise, even Indian is not correct.
No, it's not.
Right? In the ultimate sense. But
exactly,
it has any bad effect at all when I understand that I am not that based on all this conditioning that I grew up with. I am not that conditioning. I'm not that conditioning.
Exactly.
I have a conditioning. See, I have a conditioning.
Yes.
Mind has the conditioning. But I am not that condition,
Right. Exactly.
entity.
Exactly. And see that realization. Now, it's very interesting when we say I am not that conditioning, because people doing sadhana, if sadhana is, quote, done, performed without the I, it is not really sadhana. It is simply, it is actually total resonance with the ultimate truth. It seems like sadhana, but it's not sadhana. But
Right. Sadhana is only when you don't
now,
know and in ignorance continue
right.
doing.
So just to make some cross connections, I mean, with the notebook, interesting. Let's see if we can cross connect in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, right? Let's look at some Gita verses on this. In chapter 2, in the last verse, the whole series begins with Stita Pragnasya ka bhasha samadhi sasya keshava sita kim pravashita kima sita brajeti. Right? That question is asked by Arjuna. The last verse in the Gita, in chapter 2, is Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha. Nainam prapti vimuyati stitva samantakalepi brahma nirvanam ruchyati. Right? So the last verse is saying Esha Brahmi Sthiti, that it's a description of the Brahmic state.
Right.
Sthita Prajna. The Sthita Prajna is the same thing as awakening of intelligence. Atmanev Atmana Tushta, Tasya Prajna Pratishtita. All those things are all talking about the same truth that Krishnamurti is referring to here. Freedom from greed and envy and all those things are not present, where the prajna, the intelligence, is extremely steady.
Yeah.
So there is a very good link between all of these ideas, actually.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, interestingly, when a sadhak, in a traditional sense, realizes the nature of the me that is trying to get somewhere, that is a massive realization that is a futile effort.
Right, exactly right. You said it right. That's the most important part that is not understood. And we continue sadhana with this I that we are not.
Exactly. Now, interestingly, when sadhana is, it's not that I am doing sadhana, that the activity that is related or is connected to further development of the mind, which is what study of scriptures and bhajans and kirtans and all those things. These are all at the psychological level, obviously. Even
because
gurus and all that.
As I understand, because this I, that is only an ignorance. Otherwise, it is consciousness, or it is Atman itself,
exactly,
which is now identified with the body and saying that I am that.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's an ignorance only. So it's a truth, but in ignorance. So when there is some grace of God, or whatever we call, or some crisis in the life comes, and this person becomes interested, so it's that part of that person that is truth, but in ignorance gets more and more and more to this sadhana in the beginning and all that thing. But this truth is driving that person to the realization ultimately. And that's what happened to most of us here in this conversation, or in your group, or in our group.
Yes.
We have to understand that it is the truth that takes us to the satsangs, to the dialogues and all that.
Yes.
Because it's now waking up, it's stirring in us. With this ignorance, it's stirring. It's just, how can I be so limited? All those things are coming,
Exactly. Absolutely. It is so phenomenal what Krishnamurti has written in this one paragraph, the whole notebook. That there is a relative existence of space and time. There's a relative existence. We have that. Obviously it's there, right? But at the same time, there is a great possibility of just phenomenal emptiness, which is phenomenal silence. And in that silence, all of this activity that is me-centered conditioning and envy and greed and ambition and all that stuff that is there, all of this thing, it absolutely gets cleansed. It gets cleansed out. not wiped out, but cleansed out. Fascinating. The language is very interesting.
In that, the important point also is realized that this is the same me that is jealous, that is angry, that is
Exactly.
envy, that is greedy. So instead of this fighting with all of them to get rid of it, why
Yes.
don't I understand this?
Exactly.
When this is not there, all of them have no platform. They collapse.
They don't. Yes. Yes.
There is no, the ground is like a collapsing of the ground on which they were dancing.
And
So
see,
that's the important thing, is to find out to whom, not what, and this whom keep fighting with them and spend the whole life.
yes, exactly. And that's what happens in most people's, even those who are trying to realize God and the infinite and all these things, they are still caught up inside the realm of the ego. So that's
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, that's all.
Sachin,
Yeah.
if I may add, the other thing I keep on saying it often, that this word ego also is little problematic, as it was to me many years, because that is implied to us that one should not have ego.
Right. Exactly.
But one should not have ego. Okay,
It's
so I
also
get
ego.
rid of ego, but I am still there as a separate person.
Sure. In fact, to say I want to get rid of my ego, that is also the ego's game only.
It should mean that I should be looking at this me and understand that, is it really me?
Yes. Exactly.
And calling it ego, then they will say, I should not have this. Just like I should not be angry, I should not have jealousy, I should not be greedy.
Yeah.
But then the me is never get caught.
Exactly.
For us to get rid of it.
Exactly. I remember.
Because it's hiding, under.
Yes, because that implies the how. See, in the dialogue with Krishnamurti and Houston Smith, it was a black and white film dialogue. It was really, and he said to Krishnamurti, inappropriate. I mean, why should I not ask you how to achieve these things? He said that if you really understand this, you will never ask the how.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
Because the how implies a whole methodical process of trying to reach somewhere, which is actually within the framework of the me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is, right? So
it takes us away from the me.
It takes you away. Yeah, exactly.
Instead of the pathless path, it just takes away.
Right, exactly. So then a person is going to be caught up in projections of the mind and fantasies and all kinds of things like that, rather than leaving the mind completely alone. I think that's a major difference between traditional sadhana oriented of trying to get somewhere, trying to reach a god or trying to reach a heaven or trying to reach this or trying to reach that, whatever, as opposed to leaving the mind alone that is not trying to get somewhere, but nonetheless, the mind is so tremendously open because of this cleansing that the vastness, the whole, is comprehended, meaning that it is expressing itself in that mind body. Tremendous. I mean, it is a boundaryless existence.
Oh, yeah.
That's what this all seems like.
Beginningless, boundaryless.
Yes.
Yeah. Never ending, all those things.
And see, when he says the comprehension of the complete, that is, and if we really look at what the human ego and the me and the conditioning, each person is trying to reach that completeness through the me, but they're not going to ever reach it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Through the me, who keeps the struggle going for the lifetime.
Yes.
And on whose behalf we suffer all our life.
All the time.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Because it is wanting certain types of experiences that are available within the limited boundary and framework of the me. That is greed. I mean, so the difference between greed and this wholeness is this much, that the individual who is seeking seeking the wholeness by strengthening the me is actually getting more and more bound and entrapped and conditioned and heavily sunk inside the me. That is greed. So it is a matter of realizing that is happening. To realize that, and see, this is exactly what Krishnamurti is saying. He says that this me, it cannot ever formulate or understand that which is the whole, the complete, the total. It can never even formulate that. It cannot formulate, understand that. But that's what it wants to do. It wants to grab everything within its small limited function. Right? So because it can never do that, and Krishnamurti is very clear here that it cannot formulate or understand that which is the total. The me can never. I mean, somebody who is greedy is actually looking for that total. He says, I have this much money, then I have this much money, this much power, this much this, then I will be total, then I will be happy, then I'll, but it is actually just an expansion of the me. It's not the total.
It's not the total, right?
Not at all. And this is where the cleansing comes inside, that a person really observes so carefully the function of the me, the structure of the me, that individual realizes that what you're looking for is the complete, the whole, the total, the higher. You're looking for pure joy and all that. You're not going to get it through this expansion of the greed. It's just not going to happen. It has never happened for anybody, and it will never happen for anybody.
That's the reason why we should very clearly see the experience that gives rise to me.
Exactly. And see,
the experience
yes.
is that the real experience is that the thoughts that we label as a jealous or greed or all of them, the thoughts keeps arising in the true awareness, right?
Yes.
Timelessly, there are no time.
Yes.
Why I'm saying no time? Because if you're observing, there is no thought, and without the thought, you cannot have the time. So,
exactly.
So these are happening, right? Now, these, when I want to communicate with me or to others, then I identify with these thoughts which call jealous thought, which I call jealousy, right? So I identified with the jealousy, and Pratap comes out and says, I am jealous. I should not have jealousy. Hey,
yeah.
Look at this. Because of the jealous thoughts, there is a birth of me.
Yes.
It's not that the me is jealous.
Right.
Me is expressing only by the thought that I am jealous. So jealousy, all the way are thoughts only.
Yes.
Jealousy, experience of jealousy is nothing but the thoughts only of being jealous.
Sure.
And me being jealous particularly. So that clearly tells that how can there be a me who is jealous without thoughts that I identify, this consciousness identifies, and a sense of Pratap is born and is expressing, which Pratap in ignorance takes it as a real, instead of only saying it for communication purpose. So that thing is never comes out in the traditional way, this explicitly. So we struggle sometimes with Krishnamurti, but somebody helped me in this to see this way, that look, without the without the timeless experience of what we call these thoughts, these jealousies, feeling of jealousy and all that, there cannot be me.
Exactly.
So now how can I take this me as a real?
Right, exactly.
So that has to be seen as not true. This is identified only for the body and the mind to act as a tool of the real observer.
Yes,
That has
yes.
tremendous power in understanding Krishnamurti as I see it in my personal life. Unless otherwise I keep on using these words like there should be a cleanliness and oh, it's so vast and all those things. How can we understand? But without the anatomically seeing the me, what it is, it's very hard to keep on keep on handling me in a proper way, in the right way, as a tool,
Yes.
and not give the platform for all those things, jealousy, anger, control, all those things. They are nothing but only me wearing those costumes, keep on dancing. And the moment we understand this me is not real,
Yes.
whole thing, well, the whole thing, because there is no limitation then, because you take your stand on the real I, and that's a vastness, freedom, unconditional love, unperturbed peace.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
So this is how I was benefited by the Krishnamurti more and the Vedanta, both, connections. They talk the same thing. And when somebody, a lot of people compare the Krishnamurti with Ramana Maharshi, that
Yeah.
even reinforce my understanding even more to
Yes.
understand what Krishnamurti say.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
only one statement, observe what is observed, really changed my life.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, there's no question about that. Yes, actually, it's we can just stop in just a couple of minutes here, but it's just that there is so much natural truth in this. It's like in front of us right away. It's just here.
Natural truth. It sounds so true, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's available for us right away, and actually that vastness, that emptiness of the mind, this is actually something which is available for everybody at any time, really. This is not something that that you have to reach difficult sadhana, because there is no sadhana in that. There is just an observation of the way that the experiences work from within, and then to realize
within.
and they're limited. I mean, that they are limited in space and time. That these experiences of the individual based identity, that these experiences are coming from the storehouse of experiences, knowledge, and tradition. That storehouse is really where we are living in that world of that storehouse. But in reality, once we see that storehouse, there's a natural freedom to see beyond that.
Yes, exactly right. When we find out, how do we relate to this storehouse?
Exactly.
We are acting as if this storehouse is mine. This storehouse is mine. That's how we act, as if we are totally independent of the storehouse.
Exactly. And
without the storehouse, you can never have any identity.
No, you cannot have anything. You cannot have, but it is necessary to have that storehouse so we can look beyond it. Because but the question is, I mean, there's some other questions here about how children are brought up and all that kind of thing. But the storehouse is going to remain. It's recording. It's all that conditioning is there. But one doesn't have to necessarily function according to the dictates of that conditioning.
What I meant to say is that without the storehouse, I cannot have any identity, but I cannot have identity separate from
Yes.
the awareness itself. My true
Yeah.
identity is awareness.
Yeah. Oh, you're frozen there, but
Storehouse, I cannot have identity as Pratap, but I have
yeah.
identity of awareness.
Right. Very,
Then as awareness, I can wield this body and the mind with the same I. That's not my true identity, but the same I as tool, I can wield it.
yes, definitely.
That's the understanding that Krishnamurti is talking about.
Definitely. Very interesting. It's very profound. It's tremendous. You know, the last line in this, he says that love is this completeness. That was the last line in that. I'll do a screen share here. This
Yes.
is, yeah.
Ultimately,
Love,
unconditional love.
love is this completeness, you know, so that completeness is pure love. It's absolute love. And that's it, because when there is actual love, there is no greed, envy, and all these things. These things are not present by any standard over there, not at all.
But Sachin, the actual love is the love that is beyond the mind.
It's beyond the mind.
In the mind, there is a love that is opposite to hatred.
Yeah. That's not actual love. That's a polarity. Yes, exactly.
Because then,
yeah, exactly.
when we suffer from the hatred, then we project that there is
Right.
still a projection in the mind.
Yes, definitely. No, this is very super powerful. I mean, you know, to even talk about this at this level is next to impossible with anybody. I mean, it's very hard. So thank you for your time in this. You know, we made the recording.
Thank you very much for
so much. Wonderful.
having this dialogue.
No, it's very powerful. Krishnamurti's notebook is the topmost. I mean, it's absolutely beyond. It's
Brahma Sutra.
Brahma Sutra. I mean, every word is spoken from there. Is every.
Like you said, yeah.
Literally, you know. So okay, we'll pick it up next time. Thank you, sir, very much. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
So you stop the recording now?
Yeah. Hold up. Let me stop it here.